evening everyone. I hope I am audible to all. I am Priya Tapwal doing PhD under the supervision of Professor Sudeep Mishra at IIT Kharagpur in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Today we are going to discuss the topic of week 10 and after that we will discuss the question of same week. So first topic that we are going to cover is smart cities and smart homes. So first of all, what is smart city? So smart city is an urban system that make the use of information and communication technology in order to make different components to work. It makes infrastructure more interactive and accessible as well as efficient. In smart cities, various components like your hospital, your banks, schools, they are able to interact with the individual or humans with the help of information and communication technology. So next is that what is the need of smart cities? That why the need of smart cities arose. So basically, due to the rapid growing population, in order to manage all the tasks, there is a need of something called smart city, with the help of which all the tasks become easy. Next one is as the natural resources are depleting, so in order to manage or make efficient use of those natural resources, there is a need of smart cities. And the third one is changes in the environment and climate conditions. So in order to prevent those changes, or in order to prevent pollution, there is a need of smart cities which make use of your natural resources more efficiently. So now this table is showing that how in the left hand side it is showing the various parts of your human, and similarly it is comparing the same thing with your smart cities. For example, in your humans, skeleton is there. So basically, what is the skeleton for smart cities? So the skeleton of smart cities consists of your buildings, industries and peoples. So basically your building, industries and peoples make your smart city. Likewise, skin in human, transportation and logistic is in your smart cities. Then organs. So basically, what are the organs of smart cities? These are your hospitals, banks, schools, police, all these are the organs of your smart cities. Next one is brain. So the intelligence that is embedded is act as brain in smart cities. Then nerves. So nerves is responsible for the communication of various organs in humans. Similarly, in case of your smart cities, telecommunication network is responsible for communication. That's why digital telecommunication network act as nerves in your smart cities. Next one is sensory organs. So your sensors and tags will act as sensory organs for smart cities, and software will act as cognition for your smart cities. Now, what are the different applications of smart cities and smart homes? So basically, smart cities can be applicable in order to achieve smart economy, smart governance, smart people, smart mobility, smart environment and smart living. We will discuss all these applications one by one. So first one is smart economy. So basically there are three main components of your smart economy, that is your startup, founders and indigenous diaspora. These three components further interact with other components in order to make your economy smart. The other components may be your venture capital, academia, portal, public sector buyers, worldwide buyers, government agencies, global MNCs, international diasporas. All these components interact with your three basic components of economy and make the economy as a smart economy. Similar to your smart economy, there are three components in your smart governance also. So the three components that consist of your smart governance is government agencies, officials, citizens. These three components further interact with other components to make the governance smart. And the other components are banking, finance, reform, safety, surveillance, management, public services. Further, then smart people. So the three main components of smart people is education, healthcare and population. These three components further interact with other components such as your banking, connectivity, shopping, medicines, all these other components. Now next one is your smart mobility. The three main components of smart mobilities are cities, localities and population. These three components interact with other components to make mobility as smart mobility, and the other components are transport, railways, airways, electric vehicle, vehicular network, traffic control. All these are responsible for making the mobility as smart mobility. Next one is your smart environment. So in smart environment, the three main components are localities, population and government agencies. These further interact with other components, and the other components are pollution monitoring, disaster management, green construction, smart energy, water management, all the components which are responsible for making the environment smart and result in efficient utilization of your natural resources. Then further, smart living. So the three main components of your smart livings are localities, service agencies and population, and these three components interact with other components to make the living of people smart. For example, the other components are agriculture, waste management, water management, energy management, smart homes, e-health, weather updates, contactless transactions. All these things lies under your smart living. Now next one is, what are the current focus areas of your smart cities? So basically first one is your smart homes, which covers the health monitoring of the individuals, the conservation of resources and security and safety of the individuals. Next one is smart parking lots, which are responsible for the detection of vacant slots for parking and auto routing of the vehicle to those vacant slots. Next one is smart vehicle. So smart vehicles are responsible for assisting the drivers in case of your bad weather, detection of driving patterns which prevent the crashes and accidents. Next one is smart health. So smart health, in case of your smart health, the individual can do remote checkups and diagnosis by just using some applications with the help of which they can upload their body data or vitals data, and after that they can get diagnosis at home only. Next one is population and calamity monitoring. So your smart cities also cover this area, that in order to detect the weather condition of an area, smart cities are responsible. Then smart energy. So smart energy is responsible for detecting the pattern of using your energy or power, and also installing smart meter system which further prevent the wastage of your resources. Then smart agriculture. So in smart agriculture, various factors come, such as your automatic detection of plant water stress, monitoring of crop health status, auto detection of crop infection, auto application of fertilizers and pesticides, scheduling, harvesting and arranging proper transfer of harvest to warehouse or markets. Now what are the technological focus area? So in case of technology, in order to deploy your smart cities, what should be the focus areas? So first one is data collection, that how to collect data with the help of sensors in order to make your city smart. Next one is, once you collect the data, you need to transmit the data. So this is a second parameter that should be considered, that how to transmit the data which we have collected. Then third one is data storage. So we have collected the data, we have transmitted the data to the server. Now we need to store that data in such a manner, in secure and safe manner. Next one is data processing. Now on the stored data we need to perform some processing so that we can make decisions which help in the prediction of various tasks. Now the challenges which we faced in deploying or implementing your smart cities. So the challenges are security and privacy. So basically your sensors generate a massive amount of data, and there are chances of the leakage of that private data. So there is a need to ensure security and privacy in smart cities, and it is difficult to achieve that security and privacy in smart cities. Next one is heterogeneity. Since the sensors and devices which are present in your cities are heterogeneous, so it will be difficult for these devices to communicate with each other and to make these devices interoperable with each other. Third one is liability. So in smart cities, various devices which are present are mobile, due to which the communication between them become unreliable. So it is required to make the communication between the devices which are present in your smart cities reliable, so that there are less failures, or the decision which we take with the help of these are more reliable. Next one is large scale. So the devices which are implemented or which are deployed in your smart cities are in massive number, in billions of devices are deployed. So in order to manage those devices, it is difficult. Next one is your legal and social aspect. So in smart cities, various data are collected. Some data is private to user, and in order to use that data for making decision, we have to take some consents from the individual, and sometimes we also need to ensure or follow international or local laws in order to use that particular data. Next one is big data. So the data which is generated by your devices that are deployed in smart cities is massive, and it is difficult to handle that data. The data cleaning, purification and analysis should be done on that data, and these tasks are difficult in order to implement that much amount of data. Next one is sensor network. So for the sensor, in case of your sensor network, we need to make appropriate choice that what sensors or what devices do we need in a particular application. That is required in order to make the use of energy more efficient or reliable. And second one is to make the decision more efficient, we need to make the appropriate choice of your sensors. Now next topic is your data fusion. Since we are collecting data from various devices, right? So in order to make or in order to do the decision more efficiently, we need to fuse the data from various devices. So because the data which we have taken from only single devices may not be reliable in some cases. That's why we need multiple sensors or multiple devices which will sense the data, and on the basis of that data we are going to perform some decision, or we are going to make some decisions. So next is your multi-sensor data fusion. So as I have already told that in some cases it is not liable to use only single sensor data. For example, consider a situation where we need to monitor the health of a machine, right? So in consider that we are applying only the temperature sensor over the motor. So if your motor get heated, then the temperature of your temperature sensor will rise, and on the basis of that sensor only we cannot predict whether the condition of the motor is good or not. So basically we have to apply various types of sensor. For example, we can apply vibration sensor. So on the basis of the movement of your motor, we can on the basis of movement of the motor as well as the temperature of your motor, we can detect whether the condition of your motor is good or bad. So basically what I am trying to say that is only with the use of a single sensor the decisions which we are taking may not be accurate. So that's why we need to use different sensors in a particular application, and we need to use the data of different sensors. So in order to use that data from different sensors, we need to fuse that data so that the decisions which we are taking are more appropriate. Next one is challenges. The challenges which we are facing during your data fusion. So first one is imperfection. So sometimes the data which we are collecting from sensors are inaccurate. So this is the first challenge which occur during your data fusion. Second one is ambiguity. So for example, sometimes the sensor values which a sensor is collecting may consist of outliers, which may results in wrong decisions. The next one is conflicts. So for example, we are deploying different sensors in a particular area, and the same type of sensor which we are deploying in a particular area are giving different values. So these types of conflict leads is a challenge in your data fusion. Next one is your alignment. This arises when data frames are converted to a singular frame prior to transmission. Next one is your trivial feature. So processing of your trivial data feature may bring down the accuracy of your whole system. Now, what are the different opportunities of data fusion in IoT? So collective data is rich in information, as I have already told you that the collective data which we are taking from various sensors result in better decision making and generate better intelligence as compared to the data which we are getting from single sources. It also results in optimal amalgamation of your data. Next one is it enhances the collective information content obtained from multiple low power and low precision sensors. For example, sometimes we are not using very high precision sensors. So the use of or the utilization of low precision sensor leads to the wrong decision making. So in this case, we need to use different sensors or multiple sensors so in order to prevent the wrong decisions. Next one is it also enable the hiding of critical data sources and semantics. Now, what are the different stages of data fusion? That at what stage we are going to fuse your data? So first one is your decision level. So whenever we have taken the decisions on the basis of data which we are collecting from different sensors, so we are assembling those decisions. We are not assembling the data. However, we are assembling the decisions which we have taken from with the help of different sensors. Next one is at your feature level. So here the fusion of information prior to decision making. So just before decision making, we are fusing the information. Next one is your pixel level. So in case of your pixel level data fusion, the fusion of information take place at the imaging device level itself. Next one is your signal level. So in the signal level, the information is fused at the sensor node only. Now, what are the mathematical methods which are helpful in fusing your data? So first one is your probability based. So in probability based, various methods such as your Bayesian analysis, statistics, recursive methods are used. Then next one is your AI method or AI based method. In AI based method, ANN, machine learning, CNN, convolutional neural network, we can use those methods. Next one is your theory of evidence based method. So belief function, transferable belief models can be used in order to fuse your data. Now, AI in IoT decision making. So whenever we are taking any decision with the help of your data which we have collected with various sensors, if we are applying artificial intelligence, then the decision which we have taken is highly accurate as compared to the situation where we are not using artificial intelligence. Now here you can see the example of data fusion for autonomous vehicles. For example, consider this car. This car is using different types of sensors in order to predict the crashes, or in order to predict the possible crashes that can happen. So here it is using RGB camera, LiDAR, ultrasonic sensors, which will help in the detection of various obstructions that can occur in the movement of your vehicle. Your RGB camera is going to provide the images of the surrounding. LiDAR will provide the 3D view of the surrounding. Ultrasonic sensor will provide the will tell the vehicle of the obstructions which are near to this device. So with the help of all these three different types of sensor we are using, with the help of data, we are going to predict whether there are chances of crashes of this vehicle or not. Now, smart parking. So why do we need smart parking? So smart parking is responsible for shortening the park search time for drivers. It also reduces the traffic congestion and reduces the pollution by keeping unnecessarily lingering of vehicle on the roads. So in smart parking, if we are able to detect the free lot, then we can directly go to that particular lot and park your car. We don't have to linger your vehicle on the road, and this lingering of vehicle can result in your traffic congestion as well as your pollution. So to prevent that, smart parking is important. It also reduces fuel consumption and cost and increases the urban mobility. It shortens the park search time, which result in more park time and hence more revenue. Now the functional layer of smart parking. So basically there are three functional layers of your smart parking. First one is your information collection, that can happen with the help of your sensors. Next one is your system deployment, and third one is your service dissemination. Okay. Now your information collection. So in case of your information collection, various sensors, parking meters, sensor network, crowd sensing, all these things are used in order to collect your information in case of your smart parking. Next one is your system deployment. So for system deployment, software system, information management, e-parking, guidance and data analytics are done. Then your service dissemination. Now what are the different services that we can provide in case of your smart parking? So it can be your dynamic pricing strategies, infrastructure based information, infrastructure free information, parking choice, vehicle activities. All these services we can provide with the help of your smart parking. Now information sensing. So your sensing can be stationary as well as your mobile. So in case of stationary sensing, we require large number of sensors which can detect the presence or absence of vehicle at a particular place. However, in case of your mobile sensing, we require less sensors, and these sensors collect the information along with the route which your vehicle is following. Now energy management in your smart cities. Since we are using different types of sensors in your smart cities, and these sensors require power, right? So in order to make these sensors to use less power and make your smart cities green smart cities, it is required to manage your energy. So there are various types of energy efficient solutions that are available, which are based on your lightweight protocol, scheduling optimization, predictive model for energy consumption, cloud based approach, low power transceiver and cognitive management framework. Next one is your energy harvesting solution. So energy harvesting solution, in energy harvesting solution we are going to use your natural resources only, such as your RF sources, wind, sun, heat, vibration. The next is your energy harvesting solution are dedicated to your energy harvesting solutions. These are intentionally deployed near to your IoT sources, and the amount of energy harvested depend upon the sensitivity of the harvesting circuit, distance between the device and the source, and the environment where we have deployed the sensors. Now smart homes. So in your smart cities, the basic component is your smart home. So in your smart home, we need different devices, different intelligent devices which can seamlessly communicate with each other and make the life of individual more easier by allowing easy use of your household systems. So it creates a highly personalized and safe home space, and it also corporate serious indulging in smart home system like GE, Cisco, Google, Microsoft and other. It provides productive and cost efficient environment which maximizes the effectiveness of the occupants. Further, smart homes optimizes structure, system, service management and interrelationship between all the three, and that is your structure, system and service and management. So the various aspects of your smart homes are communication network infrastructure, intelligent control and management, sensor network, smart feature and automatic responses. Now home area network. So as we know about local area network, so the network which lie over the range of your building or few kilometers, that is your local area network. However, on the contrary to your local area network, there is personal area network which belongs to an individual. So there is a network which lie between your personal area network and your local area network, that is your home area network. So the network that is constrained within a home is called your home area network. So it enables remote access and control of devices and systems. It provides amalgamation of different systems which are available in your home, such as your security system, home automation system, personal media, communication, etc. Now these are the different components of your home area network, that is your element, standard, architecture and initiatives. Now what are the different elements of your home area network? These are your internet protocol, that is your IP, which is responsible for the communication of different devices that are available in your home area network. Next one can be your wired home area network, the home area network which is using your coaxial cable, optical fiber, twisted pair cables or telephone lines. These are your wired home area network. On the contrary to your wired home area network, it can be your wireless home area network which is using your Wi-Fi, Zigbee and other standards such as your 6LoWPAN. Now home area network medium classification. So as we have discussed that it can be a wired and wireless. So wired network uses your telephone line, optical fibers, twisted pair cables, all these come under your wired network. However, on the other hand, in case of your wireless network, it can be your battery operated and it can be your battery free. So for battery operated, no energy harvesting can be done, and the solutions which are under your battery operated are your Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, 6LoWPAN and Zigbee. In battery free, energy harvesting can be done, and the solution is an ocean. Now home area network standard. So in home area network standard, various components are there. First one is UPnP, DLNA, Connex, LoanWorks, Zigbee and Extend. So your universal plug and play, that is your UPnP, is an application layer technology which is web based. In this TCP/IP protocol stack is used, which provides support for lower layer and enables seamless integration of various technology. Next one is your DLNA, that is a trade organization which is created by your Sony, Intel and Microsoft. It connects cable based network with wireless networks for sharing your data or media. Next one is your Connex. Connex is an open important standard for home and building network. It utilizes full range of home communication infrastructure, that is your power line, coaxial cable, twisted pair cable and RF. Next one is local operation network, that is your LoanWorks. In LoanWorks, every device include neuron chip a transceiver, and an application electronics. So basically in LearnWorks there are three main components, that is your neuron chip, transceiver, and application electronics. So neuron chip is a SoC with multiple microprocessor, RAM, ROM, and I/O interface. It splits the device into groups, intelligent element, which can communicate through physical communication medium. So ZigBee we have already discussed about ZigBee in our previous lectures. So ZigBee mainly consists of 4 layers, that is your physical layer, medium access control layer, network layer, and application layer. And it is responsible, ZigBee is responsible for the communication of your low energy devices. Next one is your Extend. So Extend enable remote control of component transmitter and receiver over the power lines and electrical wirings present in the house. Now the architecture of your home area network. So it consists of two components, that is your Domonet and Genie. So basically your Domonet uses XML for the description and web services for a control. It follows service oriented architecture and not tied to any software language and architecture. It is a central gateway which connects different technologies, and a tech manager for each technology provides web services for control and access. Now Genie. So Genie connect various devices sharing their resources with auto configuration and auto installation. It is based on Java environment and pursued by your Sun Microsoft. It constructs an organized distribution system without central node. Genie app use bytecodes to run JVM and are portable. It follows object oriented paradigm. So basically your Genie is based on your Java. Now the initiatives of your home area network. So there are two main initiatives of your home area network. First one is your Project Hydra and second one is your Amigo. So your Project Hydra is a middleware for embedded intelligent system which connects a service oriented network architecture. In this, each device has a embedded Hydra client which acts as a proxy between your device and the middleware. Now the aim of Amigo is ambient intelligent systems for your network home system. It provides user-friendly interface to the user and interoperability between the various devices that are available in your home. Now the next topic is your connected vehicle. So vehicle can be connected if they are equipped with your sensors and the networking or communicating devices. These are capable of communicating with with other devices within a vehicle, communicating with other similar vehicle, and communicated with your fixed infrastructure. Now the challenges which we faced in order to make vehicles connected are your security, privacy, scalability, reliability, quality of service, and lack of global standards. Now vehicle to everything paradigm. So in case of your vehicle to everything paradigm, your vehicle should be able to communicate with everything. That can be individuals, that is your pedestrian, other vehicle, or your static infrastructure such as your mobile tower. So in case of vehicle to everything paradigm, your vehicle should be able to communicate with all the other devices or individuals which are present. So vehicle to everything paradigm is necessary for making the vehicles autonomous and making the or enhancing the efficiency of traveling. Now the failure of TCP/IP protocol in vehicle to everything paradigm. So why your TCP/IP model fails in your vehicle to everything paradigm? So basically your TCP/IP paradigm is designed for handling the information exchange between single pair of entities. However, in your vehicle to everything, there are multiple entities which are available and which are communicating with each other at the same time. Next one is your information exchange is dependent on the location of data. So in case of your TCP/IP model, the location of the source and the destination should be known. However, in case of your vehicle, autonomous vehicle or vehicle to everything paradigm, since the vehicle are moving, so the location is always changing, right? So your TCP/IP model cannot be used in that scenario. Next one is TCP/IP model can only identify the address of endpoint, which alone is not useful for your content distribution in case of vehicle to everything paradigm. Next one is increase the number of wireless devices, restricts the mobility of your nodes. So TCP/IP model basically restricts the mobility of your nodes. Next one is your content centric networking. So your CCN, that is your content centric networking, is derived from your information centric networking architecture, which focuses more on data than its actual location. So the data which is present are named hierarchically, and hierarchical data is transmitted directly instead of being a part of a conversation. It enables scalable and efficient data dissemination, and in network caching allows for data traffic. It works well in highly mobile environment. So your CCN is suitable for your highly mobile environment and is suitable in your vehicle to everything environment. Now vehicular ad hoc networks. So your vehicular ad hoc network is based on dedicated short range communication and your wireless access in vehicular environment, that is your way. So the routing protocols which are used in VANETs are derived from VANETs. So all the routing protocols which are used in your mobile ad hoc networks are used in your vehicular ad hoc network. High throughput achievable in mobile network environment, and it also guaranteed low latency in mobile environment. Now the features of your VANET. So high dynamic topology. So in case of your vehicular ad hoc network, the topology is highly dynamic, because since your vehicles are continuously moving, so topology is highly dynamic. Next one is high transmission and computation ability. So in case of your VANETs, high transmission and computation ability is required. There is unstable connectivity due to the mobility of the vehicle. Large scale, since the vehicle or the vehicle which are moving are in large scale, so we need to provide communication between the massive vehicles. So VANET should be able to handle such large scale of vehicles. Next one is predictable mobility pattern. So how your vehicle are moving, so VANET should be able to predict the patterns. Now next one is your vehicular ad hoc network applications. So what are the different applications of where we can use vehicular ad hoc network? So in order to ensure safety on your roads, vehicular ad hoc networks can be used. For example, in case of your emergency braking, lane change warning, collision avoidance, hazard notification, your vehicular ad hoc network can be used. For efficient management of your congestion, electronic toll collection, your parking ability, your vehicular ad hoc network can be used. For your multimedia stream and internet access, vehicular ad hoc networks can be used. And for the prediction of your weather, autonomous driving, journey time estimation, your vehicular ad hoc network can be used. Now the CCN for your VANET. So CCN is used in VANET for providing routing as well as your scalability. Now body and brain architecture. So in your vehicular ad hoc network, body and brain architecture is used, and in body and brain architecture basically there are three layers. First one is your body. So body is responsible for sensing the data. Next one is next layer is your network and transmission layer. which is responsible for the communication of different devices. And third one is your brain. So brain layer is responsible for performing the analytics and taking the decision. So here are the three diagrams showing the different showing the architecture of different layer. So first one is your sensor and execution layer, which consists of your various sensors, actuators and radio. Next one is your network and transmission layer, which is responsible for the communication of various devices. And the third one is your decision layer, which is responsible for your administrative and supervisory functionalities. Now the intelligent connected vehicles. So your intelligent connected vehicles are responsible for managing your intelligent transportation, pedestrian communication channel and your transport infrastructure. Now the phases that are involved in your ICVs are: first phase is your infotainment service with remote information processing. Second one is your intelligent transportation service, and third one is your vehicle connected to the cloud. Now intelligent connected vehicle. So this diagram is showing that how the prediction of how the prediction of collision is taking place. So with the help of various sensors that we are using in a vehicle, we can detect the speed, direction and braking system status, and on the basis of these things we are going to estimate the collision course. Similarly, your intelligent connected vehicle can be used in case of your blind spots. For example, see here, this area is a blind spot, due to which your the sensors which are available in your vehicle are not going to predict the presence of a human, due to which there is a possibility of crash between the car and the individual. So intelligent connected vehicle are also responsible for preventing such kind of crashes. Now the VANETs. So the domains of VANET are in vehicle, ad hoc and infrastructure. So first is your in vehicle domain. So in vehicle domain composed of one or more onboard units, and there is a additional presence of advanced driver assistance systems such as your cameras, proximity sensors, engine sensor, radars and actuators. Next one is your ad hoc domain. So ad hoc domain composed of vehicle and roadside units. The vehicle are mobile, whereas your roadside units are static in case of your ad hoc domain. Then the communication mode may be your vehicle to vehicle as well as your vehicle to infrastructure, and the communication will take place through your DSRC stack. Now the infrastructure domain. So in case of your infrastructure domain, roadside units are connected to the internet by the means of your gateways. In the presence of your RSUs, so this scenario, the figure 1, the vehicles may communicate to the internet by your vehicle to interface, vehicle to infrastructure interface. However, in the second scenario where your RSUs are absent, the vehicle may communicate with each other or the internet through your cellular network such as your 3G and 4G. Now vehicle to everything communication. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of your vehicle to everything communication. So the advantages are increased traffic safety, increased driver safety, optimized time for travel, efficiency of fuel consumption, secure travel, easier drive in low visibility and unfavorable weather condition. The disadvantages are violation of privacy, loss of data control, collection of personal data, second use of data, data used by unauthorized entities. So there are chances that the private data may be used by your unauthorized entities, tracking of movements. So basically in case of your vehicle to everything, we are tracking the movements of vehicles, so we are somehow violating the privacy of the user, and we are also localizing the position of the individuals. Now the questions. So first question is, facilities that need to be provided in smart parking lots includes: first one is your identification of empty slots in parking slot, automatic routing of vehicle in vacant slot, Third one is automatic charging of service rendered, and fourth one is all of these. Anyone please?
Option A, ma'am.
Option A. Why not? Are we not providing
Option
automatic
B.
routing of
All
vehicle to vacant slot and automatic charging slots? We
Option
are
D.
not. Yeah. So option D is right. So in case of your smart parking lots, we are providing, we are identifying the empty slots, we are routing the vehicle to the empty slots, and also providing the automatic charging services. Now the question number second is your, in near future auto alert generation in case of your sudden heart attack leading to emergency medical condition is supposed to be handled by your smart health. Is this statement true or false?
True, ma'am.
Right, this statement is true. Next question is, during an event of disaster, the resource reallocation and service rerouting can be handled by which of the following method? Options are energy monitoring, traffic monitoring, calamity monitoring, and fourth one is your health monitoring. So this is related to your disaster. So which should be right?
C option.
C option, right?
Calamity.
It should be your calamity monitoring. Now question number 4 is, which of the following challenge can be experienced during the periodic generation of large volume of data in smart cities? Options are making data volume precise and accurate. Second is provisioning quality of service. Third one is proper resource management, and fourth one is none of these.
Proper resource management.
Correct option is making data volume precise and accurate. Next one is blank enables optimal usage of huge data generated from different sources and across different platforms. Options are data storage, data cleaning, data fusion, none of these.
Data fusion.
Right, data fusion is correct option. Now the question number 6, which of the following is included in mathematical model that is used for performing data fusion? First one is your CNN, second one is your statistical model, third one is your belief function, and fourth one is your all of these.
All of them.
Question is related to your mathematical model. All of these.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, all of these. So basically there were three methods in your mathematical model. That were your first one was your probability based, second one is your I guess AI based, and third one is using your belief functions. Now next question is, which of the following statement are true about different component present in your smart home? Statement 1 is sensor network and communication network infrastructure. Statement 2 is intelligent control and management. Third one is manual instead of automatic access of devices. So which statements are correct? 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, all the three. Anyone please? So in case of your smart home,
1, 2.
yeah, 1, 2. Manual instead of automatic access of devices is not done in your smart homes. So everything is automatic. Question number 8 is, which of the following are included in the home area network standards? Statement 1 is UPnP and LoanWorks. Second one is your ZigBee and Extend. Third one is your DLNA and ZigBee. So,
D.
what?
D.
Yeah, right, D. Next one is your blank provisions amalgamation of different features at home, including home automation system, personal media, security system, etc. Options are your home area, local area network, personal area network, metropolitan area network, and home area network. So which one is true?
D.
D, right. Now question number 10. In vehicle to human and human to vehicle interaction, the human communicating with the vehicle blank. Options is present in another vehicle, is present in the same vehicle, is present outside the vehicle or on the roadside, and all of these. So which one is correct?
All of these.
What? So here we are considering only vehicle to human and human to vehicle interaction. So in that case, the human communicating with the vehicle should be present outside the vehicle on the roadside, because if the human is present in the same vehicle, then it should be your V2V communication, and if it is present in other vehicle also, then it should be your V2V communication. Next question is, information centric networks are derived from your content centric network architecture. Is this statement true or false?
True.
True? Are you sure? False, because your content centric network architecture is derived from your ICN. Okay. ICN is not derived from your CCN. CCN is derived from your ICN. Question number 12 is, which of the following statement is true about your vehicular ad hoc network? Options are, routing protocols of MANETs are derived from VANET. Is this correct? First statement.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
No, the routing protocols of VANETs are derived from MANET. Routing protocols of MANETs are not derived from VANET. High latency is achieved in mobile environment. Is this correct? Does not have wireless access in your vehicular environment. Yes or no? Next one is your none of these. Okay, which one is correct? Which of the statement is true out of these four? So first one I have already told you that it is incorrect. Now out of B and D.
Option D.
D, right. So VANET provide low latency in case of your mobile network, and also provide wireless access in your vehicular environment. The next question is your, which of the following is considered as intelligent connected vehicle? First one is your intelligent transportation, communication channels, pedestrian, and fourth one is your all of these.
Option D.
Right, option D. Question number 14th is dedicated short range communication standard developed by Society of Automated Engineering. Engineers are SAE J2735 and J2945. Is this true or false? So this statement is true. Question number 15 is what are the disadvantages of your vehicular to everything communication? Options are increased traffic safety, efficient use of fuel, tracking of
movement.
And right, because tracking of movement is resulting in the violating of your users privacy, right? And increased traffic safety and efficient use of fuel are the advantages of your vehicular to everything communication. So these are the questions of your week 10. So any topic that you want me to ask? Someone is raising his or her hand. Okay. So do you have any question?
Madam, explain 8th question, madam.
What?
8th question, explain. 1 second.
8th question, wait. Okay, so 8th question was your, which of the following are included in the home area network standards, right? So statement 1 is your UPnP and LANWorks. So UPnP and LANWorks are in your home area standard. So statement 1 is correct, right? Is my screen, I have shared my screen, right? Statement 2 is Zigbee and Extend. So your Zigbee and Extend are also in your home area network standard. Then third statement is DLN and Zigbee. So this statement is also appropriate or correct. So all these three statements, that is your 1, 2 and 3, are correct. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Satvika, do you have any question? You have raised your hand.
Ma'am, how ad hoc network can predict the journey time estimation?
Can you please repeat how ad hoc network can predict what? Can you please type your question? It will be better actually. It's not about ad hoc, that your ad hoc network is predicting your journey estimation time, but the various sensors that we are using, so the communication between those sensors, we can use machine learning models on the data which we are getting from those sensors, and the ad hoc network is responsible for the communication of those sensors and your server where your machine learning model can be applied. So with the help of all those things, we can predict the estimation of your journey time. So basically it's not about your ad hoc network only. What are the sensors that are required for predicting the time? So basically it's just about the speed, that with what speed your vehicle is moving, and the distance. See, with the help of GPS we can get the distance between your current location and your destination location, right? So and the speed of your vehicle can be known. So with the help of that we can estimate your journey estimation time. So okay. How can we display the time in mobile? Mobile mean your cell phone. You can you can make the use of different applications. Yeah, you can use a different application, and estimation is done on the server, and the communication between your mobile phone and your server can be done with the help of network. So how different applications are working? You are sending your data to server is doing some analysis on that data and sending back the result to your mobile phone where application is running. Anything else?
How it is acting to the server? There.
How these apps are connected to the server? This question are you asking?
Okay.
What? Yes or no? This is the question, or
Yes.
okay. So first of all, you have to register your app to the server, and once that registration is done, then the communication is just simple. Your app is running on a mobile phone or any laptop or desktop, anywhere it can be, right? So you are using that application. So that cell phone will act as a device. So the communication between your device and server will take place similar to the way which is done in your computer networks, that how two devices are interacting with each other, right? So some analytics will be performed on your server, and then the result is sent to the device, and further on that particular device particular application will be running, and that particular application will fetch the data and show the result to you. Okay. It's just similar to the communication which take place normally between two devices.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just once you create your application, either your Flutter, or you have to create your application with you can use Android Studio or Flutter in order to create your application. Once you create your application, you have to register your application to the server, and then you can make the communication between your application and server possible.
Server means what type of server?
Any server, anything. You can use your system or your laptop can also act as server. So server here I mean where the machine where your machine learning or analytics will be done, right? Or it can be cloud also. So depending upon the application. So if you are making some application on a local level, so you can make your laptop as your server where you will run your machine learning model and some analytics will be performed, and you can use your mobile phone as your end device, right, where you will deploy your application. So with the help of that your mobile phone, you are going to send the data of various sensors. For example, you are using your smartwatch, right? So you are sending the data which is collected by your smartwatch with the help of application that is deployed over your phone to the ma'am, please tell how analytics IoT used in smart agriculture. Okay, I'll complete this one and then I'll get back to you. Then you are sending the data to your laptop. There some machine learning model will be run, right? So your laptop will do some analysis and send back the result to your mobile phone with the help of various network protocols, and your mobile phone will show you the result. Okay. Next question is, ma'am, please tell how analytics IoT used in smart agriculture. So in smart agriculture, basically in order to predict whether your crops are getting proper amount of water or your crops are getting proper amount of gases, for example your nitrogen, oxygen, all these are in appropriate amount, in order to predict the in order to predict your cattle that can enter or intrude into your fields. In order to predict all those things, we can use IoT devices and analysis. For example, consider an example that we are going to predict or detect the presence of some cattle in your field to prevent them to harm your crops. So you can use your camera in order to predict your cattle. So camera here will act as your IoT device which will capture the images of your field and send that images to your server. Then server will perform some machine learning model. Since various images are sent to your server, then server will apply machine learning model in order to predict whether it's cattle or not. So on the basis of that machine learning model, that is analysis is done, we can predict whether there is a intruder or a cattle in your field. Second thing is, you can detect the that how your crops are getting water, are they getting proper amount of water, are they getting proper amount of oxygen. So for that you can use various types of sensors. For example, you can use your DHT sensor in order to detect whether your crops are getting proper amount of moisture or humidity. You can use gas sensor in order to predict the amount of oxygen which your crops are getting, and on the basis of data which is collected by these sensors, you can predict whether the level of water or humidity is appropriate for your crop or not, because some crops require large amount of moisture whereas other crops may require less amount of moisture. So some analysis, so a machine learning model will predict whether the amount of moisture which your crop is getting is appropriate or not. So on the basis of that thing, we can predict whether it's appropriate, whether the amount of humidity or moisture your crop is getting is appropriate or not, and send back the result to the user. Okay. Okay, then I'm closing today's session. It's already 7:07. Sending the data to the server means in real time. Is it possible with Arduino board, Node MCU board, or any other ways? Actually, in real time, if you mean within a fraction of time, then it may not be possible, because it will require some time to send your data to your server, and then some analysis will be performed on the server and then sent back to your end device. So it may take some amount of time, because your Arduino board and Node MCU, these are not that much these are actually resource constrained. They are not able to perform your analysis in that short amount of time. So in real time, it's better to use some strong server which have more resources. Now next question is, ma'am, how we can send images for machine learning analytics to server in real time? It's just similar to that how you are sending data. It's just same that you can send images are just data now, so it's not that much difficult. You can get for sending images or performing machine learning analytics on the images, various programs are available on the GitHub, so you can check those programs. Okay. Okay, then I am closing today's is GPS accurate, ma'am? Accurate means it's not always accurate actually. So what are you trying to ask exactly? Can you please elaborate? For estimation time. Okay, it's not always accurate. I have just given you the example that this type of technology you can use. So I have already told you that data fusion is necessary in order to make decision more accurate. Okay. So I have just given you example that such kind of technology you can use there. Which network model should I use in order to send data? Network model here, what do you mean by network model? Can you please elaborate that what do you mean by network model? Are you trying to say about TCP/IP, because network models are TCP/IP model and OSI model, which I know. I think he asked for what are the circuit, that which kind of circuits are required. Circuit means it will be better if Naveen will elaborate that what exactly he want to ask. Components, okay. Naveen, which network protocol should I use to send images? Okay. So protocol are basically all those that IP, TCP, all those things will be used. So socket programming you can use. So there is nothing different for sending your images and sending your data. You will use same protocols in order to send your data. So depending upon the requirement of your application, you can use protocols. And about the components, but socket can be used to communicate by text. Not necessary. Anything else? Okay, components, are you trying to say that how we are going to send? So you can use either your wireless technology or wire technology depending upon your need. So basically component, if it is wireless, you can use Wi-Fi, your depending upon the application or the components you are using, you are going to use your components. For example, if you are using if your sensors are of less power, then you are using your low band, you can also use Zigbee, Wi-Fi, all those technologies you can use. How to deal with while is socket programming work? How I'm not getting what you are trying to say. How to deal with while transferring images means, is socket programming work in case of sending images? Yes, socket programming will work. Okay, then I am closing today's session and we'll meet again on next Tuesday.